Good evening, guys. Sifu Scott Tarbell, Wuxia Martial Arts. We'll be doing our modern Arnis online tonight. It's a free class, so if you don't have any sticks, feel free to just grab something. Even you could grab some pens or anything that's like laying around. That's kind of like stick-like, you know. Some spatulas that just don't get in trouble. And sorry. All right, guys, so as I was saying, sorry we had some people coming into the room. So yeah, tonight we'll be working on some modern Arnis. So the first thing that we'll do here is we'll hold the sticks like this, right? And then we go here, right hand is high, left hand is on the chest, and then I take my left hand, put it on the leg, and I kick that leg back. We do our courtesy and our salute. It's very traditional Filipino martial art greeting. And then from here, we just take the sticks at the top, all right? And I'll finger walk, so when I'm doing this, right, I'm just bringing the fingers to walk, just like that, just to warm up a little bit. It's a very common warm-up for us here at Wuxia Martial Arts. In the Philippines, they use this a lot. Helps to strengthen the fingers. And one more. Okay, good. So now, all right, we hold the sticks in the middle, just like that. And what we're going to do is we go up and down, rotating, just like that. And you can do this pretty vigorous, just like that, to loosen up the wrists, loosen up the forearms. And we go side to side, just like that. You can go high, twisting. Just be careful in the house, of course. Don't break anything. Oh. All right, good. So now what I like to do is I grab the length of the stick towards the bottom and I just rest these on my shoulder like so. And we start to work with some of the twirling. So I go forward, 1, 2, just like that. So from the side you can see we go 1, 2, and then I'm going to come back 1, 2, just like this. So forward, 1, 2, and back 1, 2. Be careful that you don't smack yourself in the face. Right? So you can go a little bit wider in the beginning like that. But once you've been doing this for a while, you should be able to go right by, nice and smooth, just like that. Right. And now we'll alternate, so I go 1 down, like that, and then the other 1 down. Now I bring 1 back, and I bring the other 1 back. So I'm going 2 twirls here, 1, 2, and then I'm coming back, striking up, 1, and striking up again, just like that, 1, 2. So I alternate and keep this going, just like that. Right. This is a good exercise to build dexterity. And then from here, we'll alternate. So we go slow, 1 comes up, 1 comes down. And if you can do this, I promise modern Arnis gets a little bit easier after this drill. Right. It's like trying to rub your stomach and pat your head at the same time, but after a while, you start to get it, just like that. So alternating here. Just like that. This is a good little drill, just to warm everything up. Okay. All right, so we'll take 1 stick and we'll just toss it to the side here. All right, and I really only need this stick, yeah? So from here, we'll just do a little stretching. So I keep my fist at the length of the stick, and what I'm gonna do here is I pull my fist into my stomach like that. And like you're doing an uppercut, I'm just gonna push it forward like that. So you can see in the forearms, we get like a really nice stretch. I'm holding strong to the end of the sticks, and then I pull up a little bit, and just like that. So we get a nice twist in the arm. Modern Arnis builds a lot of forearm strength, holding the stick alone and then swinging it, and stick on stick contact, you start to build some strength in your forearm. So it's very important to stretch them. Now I do the other side. So left hand comes up inside like an uppercut, and then I push forward here, just like that. And the same thing, getting a nice twist. I can take this bottom one and pull it up a little bit like that, and that adds a little bit more intensity into the stretch. And I'll hold it for about 30 seconds. So now I switch my grip, so I go palm up and palm up, just like that. And I hold, and now this one, my right hand comes back. It's like you're gonna punch yourself in the chin, and then you rake your fist down your body. Bring it out just like that. So you kind of get the reverse of the stretch here, just like this. Yeah. While I'm doing this, same thing, my left hand can pull the stick down to add a little bit more intensity and torque to the stretch. Like that. We'll just hold for about 30 seconds and breathe easy. And then I unroll, and now I take the left hand, punching towards myself and straight down, just like that. And same thing, once I feel that I have the stretch nice and taut, then what I do is I take the opposite hand here, and I pull it down just a little bit like that. And so you get a good stretch in your forearms. Hold for a few more seconds. And I release. Okay. Well, usually what I like to do is come back and just loosen it up a little bit. And then the other side. Just kind of get that nice and loose. Okay, so next from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stick and bring it to the side of my elbow, just like that. And then I come underneath and I lift my elbow up, just like that. So I'm lifting the elbow up. So you get more of a shoulder stretch here. You can reach out a little bit, elongating the stretch, like that. Just like that. So right behind the elbow is a good position to activate this stretch. And then I come out like that. And now from here, I can either just go back, or if you're a little bit more advanced, you could roll this in, just like that. And then I pull up. Same thing, right? Under the elbow, here, and lifting. Same thing with your stretching. You usually want to hold for about 30 seconds. And some nice, easy breathing. Don't overdo it. You know, you don't have to really like force your stretch. If it starts to hurt, you're probably doing it wrong. It should feel like a comfortable stretch, your body loosening easily. And then I come back to the center. Now from here, what I do is I take the stick and I put it behind my back, like as if you had a sword and you're gonna sheath that thing back there. And then I'll just come up behind and I pull down like that. So when I'm doing this, just so you get a little tricep stretch, so pull that down. I try to get my fist off of the body. Okay. And release. Loose. Now the other side. Left hand behind. I reach my right hand up. And the same thing. So I'm pulling down, just like that. You get a nice stretch. And release. Just loosen the shoulders a little bit. And backwards. Modern Arnis is very good for the body, particularly the upper body. There's a lot of action that happens with our cutting and the way that we do things. So you'll start to notice that not very intense muscular conditioning, but you'll start to develop some muscles just from swinging the weapon around. And there's a couple of weights you can use, something lightweight, you know, when you're training like that. Or if you're doing some solo training and you're really looking to put in some rounds, you can go heavier, you know what I mean? I have some metal Arnis sticks. They're like telescoping pull-up bars, but they're quite heavy. So sometimes I'll work with them like that, just to get my body used to swinging something heavy around, like that. And then the conditioning is very good for your body as well. All right, so from here, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start out with some basic striking patterns, yeah? And then we're going to progress and start to add some twirling and various striking styles in there as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start from here, right? So we'll go from our tension stance, right? And then I'm going to go 1 foot forward, I'll back up just a little bit. So I go 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, like this, and I keep the stick resting on my body like this, yeah? So in modern Arnis, because it's a weapon art, I never want to have my hands out too long, like this, too far, because the first thing for fighting with the weapon is always trying to strike the hand. If you can strike the hand right away, then they can't hold the weapon anymore. And so always targeting the hand right away. So I keep this back on my body, just like this, right? And 1 foot is forward, just like that. So whatever side I'm holding the stick, I'd like to have that foot forward. Not to say you couldn't be crossed like this, but in the beginning it's a little bit easier and more comfortable to have 1 foot forward and match the same side. So I'm going to go from here, and we'll start out just basic, going through our basic 12 angles of attack. Modern Arnis, the system Professor Priest has set up, focused on 12 different angles, but really there's zones eventually for us to just feel something coming in as opposed to seeing it and then trying to react to it, right? So it becomes more of a feeling of that zone, of that area, okay? It's more conceptual. So we go from here. Right, now, from here, I'm going to strike the number 1 is going to go to the head. So I open the body a little bit, and you can see my hip is already turning, and I'm on the ball of the foot here, just like that. Now, all I have to do is turn my body to strike to the head, and then I pull back. So in real time, we go here, strike, and then I come back just like that. My knees are bent. If I turn this way, and you see, I'm on the ball of the foot, I'm sunken low here, right? Just like that. Always have to be mobile, ready to move right away. It should never be flat-footed, right? So from here, right, I open not too far back, and then I strike a number 1, and I come back just like that. And number 1, and I come back. All right, the other hand is still on my chest. Striking, and I come back. And then at speed, like that. From here, so we can start out slow, and just feel the mechanics of the body striking. The number 1, it's a very basic strike, just like that. And then you start to add a little power, and the speed is also coming back, right? So it's not just how fast you can come out like that, but also it's how fast can you pull back. So when I'm here, like that, yeah, because you don't want to leave your weapon out there for the guy to take away and then he can use against you. So practicing to go forward is important, but also pulling the hip back. So we try number 1. Just like that. Number 1. Here. A little faster. Here. Good. Okay, so now number 2 is going to be a closed strike. It's like a back fist, right? So I'm going to have the stick on the opposite shoulder, like that. And I always like to have the puño ready to go. So we call the ending piece here. It's about 2 inches. In Spanish, puño is fist. Yeah? It's the budding end of the stick, like that. So whenever your fist is being held, right, whether this way or this way, right, that is puño. This budding end is puño. Right? Usually for the short range, the corto range, but operating out of the largo range, the long range here, right, I'm going to line that puño up, and then I turn my body, striking to the head, and then I come back, just like that. So on the ball of the foot, good stance, I turn the hips, strike to the head, and I come back, and back, and back, just like that. The same concept, I go forward, but I pull that hip back pretty quick. I don't want to stay out here and be lazy with it. Remember, he has a chance to take your weapon from you. That's the worst thing. So I go here, and I pull back, pull back, pull back. And really, if you can see, the back foot pivots, and then I come back this way. The front foot stays pretty stationary. I just need this hip to turn and come back like that. Okay, so we do a few here, here, just like that. And from the side, you see it as well. So I line up here, I turn, and strike back. Good. Okay, so if you can do 1 and 2, then 3 and 4 are a cinch. 3 and 4 is going to focus more to the shoulders, right? Particularly this spot between the shoulder and the tricep. That's where we're trying to strike. So from here, I wind up, same as I did. I'm not too far behind, right? Out of your peripheral vision, you should be able to see your stick. I strike to the shoulder, and then I come back, just like that. Boom. I come back. And all the mechanics are the same, just like that. So 3. Good. Okay. We'll go a little faster now. So from here, I switch, and 4 is going to cut to the opposite shoulder. All right. So 3 came to this shoulder, 4 comes to this shoulder. So I go here, I turn the hip, just like that. Same as 2. Here. Good. All right. So shake it out for a second. And now what we'll do is we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll keep it simple. So I go from here, right, my on guard position, fighting stance, and I go 1 and I pull it back. I switch it, I go 2 and pull it back. I switch. Now you notice when I do that, I go a little bit lower and then I come up. I could just come across like that. There's a little leg strike that happens here when I switch like that. 3, and look at this one, same thing going back. I go here, 4. All right, so we try it all together. 1, and I pull back. Switching, 2, and I pull back. Here, 3 to the shoulder, pulling back. 4 to the shoulder, pulling back. So Professor had 3 real methods of trying to train the 12 angles of attack. They were the pullback, the control, where you just kind of like stop it on the target to see that you could like control the hit, you know, to check your precision, like that. And then the last one was to cut through or flow through all of these. So this is more like sword, you know, that you would like slice and do all of this stuff, yeah? So we'll try the pullback with just the first 4 here, okay? So we go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. And again, set your stance, good fighting stance. 1 to the head, 2 to the head, 3 shoulder, 4 shoulder. And 1 last time. Here we go. A little bit faster now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, not bad, not bad. Okay, so with those basic 4, there's a lot that you can do. And actually the 4 really predicate the idea of being on one side of the body, because later you'll have some of the strikes coming low, some of the strikes coming low this way, or some of the strikes coming in, or some of the strikes coming in. But realistically, you're just dealing with 2 sides of the body. And then you get number 12. Number 12, you know, coming straight down this way is more center. So you have a couple ways that you can deal with 12. Anything coming on the center, it's pretty precise. You're able to deal with and feel in different ways. All right, so what we're going to do now is we'll talk about some blocking methods. Now, tonight we kind of go a little bit fast and just give some basics for the people who maybe never trained modern Arnis. And then for the students who are regular Wuxia modern Arnis students, we talk about how we can progress through some of the curriculum as well. So when we're looking at blocking methodology, all right, you have a couple of different things to think about. The most important thing is your footwork, right? So whenever somebody is swinging, they have a lot of power, all right? And we want to think about that, particularly if it's a sword, right? Or if it was open hand, or if they, you know, God forbid, had a baseball bat or a stick or whatever it is they're swinging. Typically, people are going to have a lot of power when they're doing this thing, yeah? So the thing that we always think about with the footwork is we want to be offline, so we're never forced to force, right? So later on, when you're a little more advanced and your timing is good, there's times where you're going to be able to like block and check and go in and do something, and you're moving like very minuscule amount to be able to go in. But in the beginning, it's good to practice the footwork, yeah? So what we do is from here, I'm gonna start with the feet side by side, right? And for now, I'll just keep the stick here like that. Now, all right, we'll just practice this going forward, 1, and then I drag the other foot back like that, and I'm on guard. So I have this nice angle, right? Now from here, I switch like that, and I step back to the base, and I come back this way. All right, so I'm up and back, just like that. I'm up and back. I'll back up just a little bit here. Yeah. So I step up and I step back. There's a few ways that people like to train this footwork. This up and back, and I'm pretty 50-50 here. I'm not pushing too far forward, I'm not sitting back too much. A good 50-50, so forward and back, forward and back. Yeah, so I advance forward, and then the feet come together, just like that. So, yeah, it's funny actually, when I used to train down at Brazilian Top Team for Jiu-Jitsu, they had their capoeira crew, and sometimes you would see these guys doing this movement, but it wasn't modern Arnis, it was capoeira. So this idea of angle footwork is very important, right? Being able to get off of the line. Some of your other martial arts, they're gonna choose to go straight in the center. You know, some Wing Chun goes off angle, but modern Arnis really likes to deal with the angles. So from here, now what we do is we talk about this, yeah? So I'm gonna post block first, like that. Post block means I'm basically just punching like this, yeah? So I'm punching, yeah? So from here, right, what I'm gonna do is if something is coming in this way, like that, right? What I'm gonna do is step, and I post block, just like that. So I'm just punching out, right, from here, yeah? And then I bring it back, switch, and then I post block over here, just like that. This is not a very strong block. You're never really going to stay here. It's just to teach you precision in the beginning of where to be. Later on we'll brace, or we'll be like slicing or cutting or doing something, or wing, but yeah, this is just to work your precision. So we go here. So now I bring it back, switch, and I post block. I switch, and I post block. Post block. Post block. Like that. So it's pretty strong. The stick is straight up. It's not back like this. It's not too far forward. Just like that. So I'm working the precision. Like that. Boom. Pushing out. Pushing out. Okay. So now the next thing that we talk about is we talk about bracing. Yeah. So when I brace, I never want to grab the stick because the knuckles can get hit. Right. I don't want my fingers wrapped around, you know, like doing something weird where if the guy strikes in and he takes out a finger, it's just not going to be fun. So typically what I do is I'll either go this way where the fingers are back, right? And I place the stick in the middle of the palm, like that, pushing out. Or sometimes you can go with the back of the wrist, the back of the hand, like this, and pushing out as well, right? As long as your hand's not forward, right, it really doesn't matter. You're just using this one for support most of the time. So now we'll try this one. So from here, I step to the side, boom, and I brace just like that. Could be here, could be here. We'll actually mix it up. We'll do a little bit of both. So I go from here, bring it back, and I brace block out just like that. I bring it back, and brace block. Bring it back, and brace block. Just like that. It doesn't have to be too fast, you know. And one more, just like that, right? Just like that, yeah. Okay, so we talked about post block, we talk about brace block, right? Now we go into more in depth, so you get into your slicing, right? So slicing, the big mistake a lot of people make is when the stick is coming, they try to like swat at it, you know, like this. And actually, you know, I have two major masters, one was Sifu Alex, and then my current master, Grandmaster Brian Zielinski. We talk about this a lot, the idea that you shouldn't be swatting at it, you know? The idea should be that when I go forward, I make contact, and then it slices up like that, and the checking hand, this hand, right, comes underneath like that. Now you can see that when I do this, 1, 2, right, the puño is actually on guard here. I'm ready to either strike if the guy rushes me, or if it's long range, I'm still able to strike this way. I never like to have the puño resting, right? It's kind of useless if the guy rushed in. Maybe you can punch, but this is much more effective. So from here, without any stepping at first, we'll just practice slicing, right? So I go from here, yeah, and we start something coming this way, yeah? So I'm gonna turn and I go post block, and then as I slice this up to my shoulder, the hand comes out just like that. And then I come back. So let's try that side again. So I go post block, slice up, and the hand comes out. The professor used to say that the checking hand, the live hand, is more important than the weapon hand, because typically this is the one that's going to control the other guy's weapon. So we want to get this hand to be more alive, you know? So from here I go post, slice. And this slicing, the hand comes out almost simultaneous. So I go here, post, slice. All right, now on the other side, this one, I turn, I post block, and this one's a little bit different. It comes forward and the slice is this way, so it's slicing up. And the same thing, when I go here, 1, 2, and I'm ready to strike, the puño is still here, it's still active like that. And it's not way back here. So I go 1, 2, just like that. So if I had to strike in right away, it's there for short range, corto. Or if the guy is at long range, of course I can strike and come back, you know? So from here we try this side. Now we'll do the number 2 side. So I go post, slice, just like that. And again, I come back. So I go post, and then I slice it up. And as I do that, the checking hand comes forward. This one's on guard, ready to strike right away if need be. So here again, ready? 1, 2. 1, 2. And then eventually it becomes one motion, you know? Like that. But what I'm not doing is swatting at it like that, because if you miss, you know, it's like in karate, you know, if your block is perfectly timed, you're gonna get it, you know. But if maybe you miss it, or you're too fast, or you're too slow, then you get it, right? So that's why the angle is always good. And that's why this structure first, and then I slice up just like that. So I'm not just swatting at it here. So boom, boom, boom. Okay, so let's see if we can try it. Both sides now, ready? So I go here and slice up. Then I go here and slice up. So here. Good. Now, remember that footwork from earlier that we had when we were stepping, right? Your footwork is always evasive. It's always retreating on the angle or moving up on the angle. And the important thing is your footwork is always going to be your primary line of defense, right? You should never have to rely solely upon your stick or your hand to get the job done. Really, it should be that your footwork makes you a hard target. You know, in martial arts, it's always good to be elusive, you know, and then you can exploit their weakness as you're finding their hole, right? So when they try to shine their light, their attack on you, they find they're shining it on nothing. And then all of a sudden, you're able to shine your light or your attack on them, okay? So now we'll use this footwork to be a little bit elusive, and we'll combine that with our slicing block. So I go from here, right? The strike's coming this way, so I'm gonna step, post block, slice, just like that. Now, here comes the strike on this side. I step, boom, boom, like that, and I step. So switching those feet, getting that nice post block and letting it slice back. Okay, all right, not too bad. So we have some other methodologies that we can take a look at in future videos where we take a look at like cutting down and being able to strike the low line targets. We talk about using some of these wing blocks and different things that you can do, coming across, all of that. But for tonight, I think we just keep the blocking pretty basic, yeah? So the next thing we talk about is striking patterns. Yeah? So as we already said, you have your basic 12 angles, and we only covered 4 of them. But now we can talk about abanico, all right? So abanico is a fan favorite striking pattern in all of Filipino martial arts. Partly for its effectiveness, right, and its style, right? So the fanning, which is what abanico translates into, the fanning strike, right? You remember in the beginning of the class, we did this kind of warm-up, right? But now if I go here, right, and I strike to the head, and I strike back just like that, I can put one foot forward, strike, 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 strike. Make sure you hold tight to your stick, because if you break the TV, you're going to be in some trouble with the wife, all right? So be careful. So from here, hold it nice and tight, and I turn, just like that. strike, 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 strike. So this fanning is horizontal, just like that, all right? So I go strike, strike, just like that, boom, boom. My first professor, Sifu amazing man, taught me a lot. He said that when you do the abanico, that this one inside is like 40 miles an hour if you can really do it well. This 40, and he said about this reverse is 100 miles an hour. So if you train it diligently and build up that wrist strength here, you can see when I do it, it's not just my wrist, it's not just my arm, right? But my whole body is in the strike, this boom, boom, like that. And that's how you're gonna develop a good strike, you know? So you can play with that a little bit, right side, left side at home. Make sure that you're careful, you're not gonna strike anything or even strike yourself. Just be careful with it, yeah? All right, so with that said, now we have the abanico, right this way. We're gonna kind of blend everything together that we've looked at so far. So we've talked about being able to step off the line and slice like that, right? But we haven't really talked about countermeasures. So what we're gonna do is we'll follow up with a strike. So in the beginning for modern Arnis, the easy way that we teach the students is all of these little steps, but we go block, check, like that, you know? And then after they can do that well, defensively, they can know where they have to be stepping and able to touch, just like that, touch very quickly with the hand. Then we start to introduce some offense, yeah? Because you have the best offense in the world, but if your defense is garbage, it doesn't matter, right? You're gonna be in trouble. So defense first, angling off, block, check, just like that. But now I add the counter, just like this, all right? So I can move forward a little bit. When I start 1 foot forward, I step, block, check, using that slice, and then I strike, just like that. And it's a head strike. If we're training with the students with partners, we'll have them like aim to the shoulder this way, just to be safe, you know? And now I switch, 1, 2, I post block and slice, and then bang, I come in this way. I switch, 1, 2, strike, switch, 1, 2, strike, switch, 1, 2, strike, switch, 1, 2, strike. And if you've noticed, I'm backing up a little bit when I'm doing this, so you can always play going forward, like that, going back. So for the more intermediate and advanced students who are like, I got this, I know how to do this. And then you can always add levels to this thing, angling off, backing up, you know, different strike progression, just like that. And it's just off the 1, 2. So with that said, now let's bring it back to the abanico here. This fanning strike that we talked about here, we can start to have a little bit of fun and add that after our follow-ups. So we start from here, and I go block, check, and I counter, just like that. Now look, I go abanico. See that? And I bring it back. Now I go here, block, check, counter, abanico, right away. And I bring it back, block, check, counter, abanico. This fanning, just like that. I bring it back, block, check, counter, right away. This one's gonna feel a little bit weird because you're opposite, you're cross, like we talked in the beginning, but it's good to train that way. Martial art is never gonna be a predictable, comfortable situation. You're gonna be put in some positions that are uncomfortable, where you have to deal with pressure, right? And moving from awkward positions. So this one is a good position for you to get that experience. So here, 1, 2, strike, like that. Block, check, counter, strike, strike. Block, check, counter, strike, strike. Block, check, counter, strike, strike. And you notice, you see, in the back here, this leg is always working. Boom, boom, strike, I'm pivoting, I'm pivot, pivot, like that, and then back. Block, check, counter. Here. And then look, I can even go here, and instead of striking right away, I can just go into it like that. He strikes like block, check, and I can go in right away. Like that. Strike and go, or I can just go like that. Okay. So shake it out a little bit, catch your breath. couple deep breaths. All right, good. So let's add a little bit of fun now. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at being able to twirl. All right, now you remember in the beginning of the class, we had you guys twirling 1, 2, and coming back 1, 2 like that, and alternating just like this, yeah? So this twirling here is also, I'll come forward a little bit, is also, right, you're striking. So if the guy is coming out and I can smack him once on the hand, I can smack him again on the head, right? So being able to have these two strikes in conjunction, 1, 2, is very powerful, right? So this shouldn't be like like you're twirling, something like a drumstick, or you're in the parade or something. This should have a little bit of force to it. So I go 1, this, like that, 1, 2. So a little bit slower, I go 1, 2. And you notice on the first one, it's kind of short. I go boom, and then I reach out on the second one. Here, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now you see my footwork, right? I'm sitting 50-50. I go here, I go 1, and then I come forward. I just push up on the toe a little bit so I can reach the head like that. Here. This way. So this twirling, 1, 2, is a very powerful move, all right? So we talk about this twirling now, all right? Twirling patterns, they're very important for your dexterity and being able to understand, how to move the stick, how to strike functionally with the stick and switching side to side, doing all this stuff, That stuff is very important. It's not just for some show, right? I always say with your martial arts that your martial arts should have the root, not just the fruit, right? Like if you're just doing something to look good, there's a good chance that you probably are just going to get your ass kicked, right? So everything you do in the martial art should be skill-based, something that you could actually use in combat, Musashi Miyamoto talked about this. He said, train the way that you would live. Everything that you do in training, right, should also be the way that you live, or the way you approach combat should be the same as everyday living. It means nothing is wasted, right? That you should really think, how can you use this? And then train it to a skillful level. So what we do now is we talk about this going forward. I'm going to put 1 foot forward, and now, just like before, I go forward, like that, striking, twirling forward. All right, just like that. And then once we can do this, now we'll start to do a little bit more. We'll add, right, our abanico. So I go forward, 1, 2, and then I have this nice block, this covering sombrada, and I strike, 1, 2, just like that. Then I come back, forward, strike, strike, forward, strike, strike. It is very important that when I do this, I bring it up to defend first, and then I'm striking like that. So I'm not just going here, like that, where your face or your head is exposed. So this should be forward, strike, strike, forward, strike, strike, right? So whenever my students at Wuxia start to do this twirling and they get very proficient, and they feel good, right? We will always look to see, can I do this? Can I touch the top of the head when they come up like that? That's important. Strike, 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 strike. All right, so with that said, the next piece is being able to come back like that. So this one typically can strike under the elbow, right? Your Lebanon fossa, being able to strike this way, right? 1, 2, just like that. And also, being able to hit under the chin or strike into the groin or whatever's out, his wrist, whatever you can hit, being able to strike, and then I come back like that. So I go 1, 2, 1, 2. And now two things to think about. When I start the movement, this backwards twirling, I'm starting it from largo. I'm going out long here to strike. And then when I come back, you see my front foot comes back a little bit and my shoulder comes back a little bit this way, like that. All right, so I go from here, forward a little bit, and back, and then forward, and back. So let's take a look at that from the front. So from here, I'm forward, and I strike up, and then I'm back like this. Typically people, you know, when they come into modern Arnis, they want to have this like death grip on the stick, you know, like that. But it's really hard to twirl when you have that death grip, you know. So usually I say that, you know, the thumb and the pointer should be kind of, you know, kind of tense. And then the other 3 fingers are just draped on the stick. So you can get this nice flow here, right? So if they still hit it, at least you got these 2 fingers that can tense up and the other 3 are just resting. So if you grip very hard, you're not gonna be able to like twirl proper, you know? You want this thing to flow like that, yeah. So with that said, so I go back. And you see the shoulder come back this way. Yeah. And then for you more advanced students, you know, you can switch like that. You can come here, switching, yeah, this way. Straight. So let's put it all together. So at Wuxia, we have a variety of twirling patterns, single stick and double stick. You know, and this first one, the number 1, it's very simple. We'll put it all together. So from here, I go forward twirl, 1, 2, I block, and I strike with the abanico, that fanning strike. Now, look, this comes down, I'm forward, and I go backwards twirl, just like that. And then I come back on guard. So forward, 1, 2, up, abanico, and then I come back, just like that. So forward, block, abanico, back. Forward, block, abanico, and back. And we'll do a little bit from the side here so you can see. I go this way, forward, abanico, and then back. Forward, abanico, and back. And then back. And once you start to feel like you got it, you go a little bit faster. You don't have to go crazy fast. Yeah. Just like that. And then for the more advanced students, your homework, of course, if you've never done this before, is to just keep trying to do it, but also is to switch and try it on the left side as well. Everything, boom, boom, and then coming back. I would break it into separate parts before you start trying to put it all together, you know? Yeah, so forward, up, abanico, and then I go back. So here, and back. I can touch. Right, I can hold, I can switch. Right, if you've been doing this for a while, you can switch and touch, and then just like that. So you kind of get this cross-body dexterity, working both sides of the body, just like that. Right, and then for the more advanced students, people who have been in the art for a while, some things to think about that you can play with is going forward, right? Adding the low, boom, you know, coming in, striking, striking, coming back. Same thing, coming back. All of that, right? So, so that's kind of the introduction to twirling pattern number 1. We have a couple minutes left. So what I'd like to do is just take this opportunity to kind of combine everything that we've done tonight. So we talked about elusive stepping, this angular footwork, right? We talked about being able to slice block with a block check, and then we added a counter. We could add the abanico. And then we talked about twirling pattern number 1, the effectiveness of forward twirling, right? Being able to use the nice high blocking here, the umbrella, and then striking, and then coming back with the reverse twirling, all right? So what we do now, I leave you with this to play around with at home. You can try stationary or moving around, compass drill, you know. So from here, you go block, check, counter, and now look, right? I come here and I finish just like that, you see? So after I go block, check, counter, like that, now instead of just going into the abanico, what I do is I strike forward and I do twirling pattern number 1, just like that. And then I come back, slice, block, check, counter from here, and then same thing, just like that. Block, check, right, counter, and then right away, I go into my twirling pattern. Boom, boom, strike, here, boom, boom. So you can kind of put all of this together, you know, here, striking, coming back, block, check, counter, here, just like that. Now, here, keep this moving forward, moving back, can change angles, just like that, okay? So if you can do everything stationary, right? All of this, block, check, counter, and then you can start to add the angles, and then you start to think about moving, just like that, okay? And of course, you don't have a partner, you know, but you can just think, somebody striking, you know, use your, Master Yang Ming, my Tai Chi Chuan teacher and Shaolin Kung Fu teacher, he always talks about sense of enemy, you know, that as martial artists, we have to develop a sense of the enemy that you can see. So if you don't have your training partner with you, you can still like envision your training partner throwing that strike at you, and then you work, you know, just like that. And of course, you know, later on when you do have the training partner, your partner can kind of coach you through the 12 angles, you know, move around. Maybe they give it to you, they give you the same one again, and then when you're in mid-twirl and you're feeling like you're looking good, they try to strike you again, and out of mid-twirl you have to move right away and do all of these things, okay? So I hope you had a good time. I hope that you have some things to work on. No matter what level you are, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, there's always something that somebody can show you. So I hope that I'm able to show you some things tonight that will progress your training and help you out. And we will be doing a few more classes online until probably around the end of March, maybe into the beginning of April. And I hope everybody is safe. I hope that you are, you know, walking with good martial morality. You know, the world can be an ugly place, you know, when disaster hits. And I hope that as martial artists, and as citizens of this great country, that we're able to move forward and treat one another with respect and do the right things. If you can help somebody in a way that's not going to hurt you, go out and help them. You know, Wuxia, for those of you that don't know, actually means martial heroes. So it's the idea that you're not just a high-level martial artist who is training and you're dedicated martial artist, but also that you're trying to do good for the world and use your skills for the good of humanity, because harmony is the most important thing that a martial artist can have and a person can have with another person. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. And we'll end. So we hold the stick like this. And okay, thanks guys. All right, see you on the next one.